Honeysuckle, one fragrance, some creeping phlox. I put a whole bunch of daylilies and then a nice hydrangea at the end so that the blue-purple color draws your eye the entire way down the line. And then when you have to look on your way back, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you got going in your garden?
Well, right now we have a couple of green zebra tomatoes. What else? We have black cherry tomatoes. What else? At the store, I have in the aeroponics bucket, I've got Italian oregano, Greek oregano, a couple of kale, some basil, Thai basil, purple basil, all the herbs.
Wow.
In the hydroponics.
And how do you prepare your kale?
I like to prepare my kale with some garlic and salt and a lot of butter.
Okay, that sounds good.
How about yourself?
Kale, probably the same way. I'd saute it, but I'm more of whatever catches my eye in the spice rack. I'll go, oh, look, try this, and although I like garlic, and I'm a huge fan of onions. I love onions. If onions ever went away, I would be a very unhappy man.
Right. Yeah. It's a good thing they grow from the ground, and you can just dig them up.
Increase the volume.
How we doing over here, guys?
We're seeing that you can't really hear.
We're seeing, but we can't really hear?
Yeah.
Okay, it's that people are making that comment? Okay, so we're going to need to start projecting.
Oh, I love projecting.
You love
my
projecting?
voice.
Have you ever been in the theater?
No.
Okay,
Can't
so
say that I can.
it's from the diaphragm, so you kind of suck your stomach in a little bit,
Okay.
and it comes from the gut.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
Because your
Okay.
speaker's at the bottom.
How, is that better, people? Can we hear us in the comments? If you can hear us better, please make a note.
Might have to raise it up.
Oh, that's gonna fall, I guarantee it.
Maybe like this. Oh my god. Is the speaker at the bottom?
Speaker's probably at the bottom.
That's probably why you can.
Okay.
I got this.
Or how about this? How steady is your hand? You can just hold it. There we go. Okay. We're gonna see how strong your man's muscles are, okay? Okay.
Strong arms.
Chris, how are we doing on people? Do we got enough people out there to start the show? All right. What do you say we start the show?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 8, season 2 of The Fields. My name is Jeff Rowse. I am your host. With me today is Mary Amstrong, co-owner of 314 Garden Supply. Mary, thank you very much for being on my program. Really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. Before we get to your interview, though, we're going to start with a little bit of news, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So, our 1-year anniversary, folks, June 4th. That's less than 2 weeks away. Here's what we're doing. 25% off during the block party. Last week I said 20. Powers that be got together, said no, not enough. 25% off for everybody. We're doing live music. We're also having a DJ. Adding that, a DJ, food all day, free popcorn and cotton candy we can add to the list of what's going on. We're going to have sandwiches available from Max Meats, donuts up the...
Old Town?
Yep, donuts up the Old Town. We're going to have face painting going on, family face painting. Kids, parents get together on that. Multiple local crafters and vendors. This is the most exciting part, Mary. We're going to be having a puppy adoption. That's right, a puppy adoption all day long from Lucky Canine Rescue. They're going to have a pen set outside. Outside, you're going to be able to take a dog home. They take care of everything for you. So come on down, if for no other reason, to adopt a puppy. And then Vets Sale, our Veterans Day, Memorial Day sale weekend. Boy, that came out wrong. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, all vets. 25% off, and on Memorial Day, if a vet doesn't have a card, but he's got his credentials, we're going to get him his med card for $25. All right. That's the news. Mary, hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How's it going with you?
It's going great. First and foremost, thank you guys for having Lee and Eric here. Definitely want to say thank you for always supporting the home growers and your small local business.
Well, thank you, Mary. Well, you're right. We are a small local business, and small local businesses should support small local businesses, especially if they share the same town.
Yes.
So we're happy to do that. And you are most welcome as a guest on the show, Mary.
Appreciate it.
So I gotta ask you, what's the first plant you remember planting?
The first plant I remember planting was in 3rd grade. We planted tulips in the fall. And then during the springtime, we saw the tulip grow into a beautiful little flower.
Is that what first piqued your interest and led to a longer love of gardening?
Definitely not. My mom has a huge influence on my love for gardening, as well as I like having pretty things around me. So definitely having flowers around myself and keeping them alive is what makes me keep going.
Did your mom have a really nice garden at the house?
Oh yeah, that woman can make an orchid bloom all year long.
Whoa, that's a skill too. Orchids are hard.
They are.
Wow, okay. What's your favorite plant?
My favorite plant? It would probably have to be a pothos because they're easy to grow. They make the aesthetic of your room jungly, and they come in all types of varieties. So there's the golden pothos, like a bright green pothos, and like a dark green and a light green type of pothos. I can't remember like the specific names for them, but there's a huge variety.
I've got a friend back east that bought a pothos in a hanging container.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, he was able to have it stretch around the entire ceiling of his kitchen from the same pot. I can't believe the root structure didn't come out the holes in the bottom, because it had to have been nothing but root, no dirt in there, as large as that plant was. But you can't kill a pothos. That's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's very, very difficult to.
Very different.
I've never killed one, though. Okay, so speaking of things that are easy, how easy is it for people to learn how to garden?
I think it is very easy for people to learn how to garden if they have the dedication and they want to keep things alive and an interest for it. A garden just needs some sunlight, some nutrients from either like the soil or with help from like a liquid fertilizer, and some trimming. And just like a dedicated, if you want like a full-on garden, remember we were going to say that we're going to be so specific about the type of gardening?
Correct. We are going to get to that, but I want to let everybody know first that might have an interest in just gardening, what the different types of gardenings are, different types of ways to garden. So why don't we move on to that? What are the different ways a person can garden?
There's the traditional way, soil gardening,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is hydroponics, which is growing with water instead of like a soil that has the nutrients in it. Hydroponics can be with like an aeroponics garden, the water spraying onto the roots. There is like leca, which is an expanded clay pellet that can be put into a vase just like this, and that's considered hydroponics. There's drip systems. There are
Drip system, that's where the nothing but water and nutrients touch the roots, no medium?
So it'll come from like a reservoir and into like a tube and then to a drip stake, and it'll like the water will drip constantly into the plant medium.
So out of these different methods of gardening, which is best for growing?
Growing, well, there's a different, it depends on what kind of outcome you want. If you want a higher yield, hydroponics will give you a faster end to grow and a higher yield from the nutrients being specific. If you want a more flavorful product, you're gonna go with something like soil or organic.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about soil a little bit, specifically living soil. That may be something that people aren't necessarily familiar with. How is living soil different from dirt?
Living organic soil has microbes in it, so it's got your beneficial bacteria, beneficial fungi. Sometimes it has worms living. So basically, it's taking the those little microbes are taking the big organic compounds, and when they ingest them, they break them down into like a compound that is easily available for the plant to uptake.
So it's more like the soil is doing the work for the gardener.
Correct.
Okay, that's not bad. In fact, we at Robust, which is the ownership group of this dispensary, our flower is coming out very soon. We grow exclusively in living soil down in Cuba, Missouri. Hopefully one day we're going to be able to take an episode of the fields down there, show you all what we got going on down in Cuba. Okay, take us through the kind of tools that a grower is going to need, regardless of which growing method they choose. What are some common tools?
Some common tools would be like a prong that'll help you rake up the topsoil, or like a hand shovel to help dig up your soil and put the plant in. Some type of irrigation, so anything that'll bring water to your soil.
Whether it be fed from a tube or a watering can?
Correct.
Okay.
What else? Definitely we'll need some nutrients, if that comes from like a bottle nutrients or from like the soil, like your soil amendments, like dry fertilizers. What else?
If you're growing indoors, maybe a tent?
Yes. An environmentally controlled area, an LED light, maybe, or like some type of light source for the plant to help create photosynthesis.
Now you specifically said LED. Why LED over, say, high pressure sodium or some other kind of light?
LED is lower cost, and it'll be less of a it won't raise the temperatures of that small space too much.
So you might not need as much ventilation. You could get by with a smaller fan using LED lights as opposed to multiple fans using high pressure sodium.
Correct. You won't need to, what am I trying to say? So you can use so when you're growing in a small space, you want cool, nice clean air coming in, and the air that might contain pathogens, bacteria or pests that's going to be harder for the plant to thrive in, to be going out.
So are we talking about ventilation tubes that actually exit a house? Do you have to punch a hole in the side of your house?
It depends. Like in the grow tent, you'll have holes already made in there for the ventilation tubes to go in and go through, and your inline fans as well.
Okay. Let's see. I think this next question is one that anybody that has ever grown a plant or attempted needs to know the answer for. How often do you water?
How often do you water? Well, one of my tests is sticking a finger into, like if I was growing in the soil, is sticking my finger like 2 knuckles down, and if it's dry, then I would water. And then if sometimes I could pick up the grow pot that I'm growing in, I'll pick that up, and if it's light,
okay.
I'll start watering there. For a hydroponic system, it can be a constant feed, or it can be on a timer.
Are the gauges that determine the soil moisture accurate, or are you better off Yep, this feels like it needs water.
So what roots will do, if you're growing in soil, sometimes overwatering will, so like say we're in the winter time. In the winter time, your plant will need less water. So I would water in the winter, say like every 3 weeks, depending on like the weather. And the summertime is more of the growing season. So around once a week if you're growing outside, or no, not once a week if you're growing outside. So for gardening, it would be on an everyday basis, or like whenever you see the plant will show signs that it is in need of water.
Would that be droopy leaves?
Droopy leaves, sometimes like it'll turn crispy. What other way? Sometimes droopy leaves can show signs of overwatering.
Is there any discoloration?
There can be. There is sometimes you can be, so like if you overwater too much, you can, more pests can be attracted to the water that's around there, and then it could cause root rot, and then it'll show from like the different leaves, like if there's some type of deficiency or an infestation of a pest.
Let's talk about pests for a second. What are some of the common pests that a gardener is going to come across?
In Missouri, where it's wet, a gardener is going to come across fungus gnats a lot. If you're bringing home plants from like Home Depot, for example, definitely check the plants before you bring them inside into your garden. They could be some like aphids, some thrips, what else? If you're growing like a rose bush, sometimes like there can be carpenter bees. Those are pests as well.
What kind of pests should a grower look out for?
Growers should look out for the fungus gnats, the aphids, the thrips.
How do you combat them?
You can combat them by, if there's like a little fungus gnats, you can use these sticky traps and place them over on top of the pot. You want to use like there's different like organic pesticides out there that use essential oils that will have that will help
Like neem?
like neem, some like rosemary, clove. There's also Basilicus thuringiensis, or BT, which is a kind of bacteria that produces a toxin that if some pests eat, they'll die off. So like the larvae of those pests will get killed, and then it won't be...
Stop the spread and the infestation. Okay. What's the best method for fertilization?
Best method for fertilization. So the roots are that like the mouth of the plant. So making sure that the roots have access to the best nutrients. So that can be like mixing in a gallon of nutrients, or like
Are there like little pebbles or something you can put in that are time release as you water?
There are, like, if you're using like leca can absorb the liquid
That's
fertilizer.
the clay balls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Expanded clay aggregates. Lightweight expanded clay aggregates is what leca is, and that can absorb the liquid nutrients, and then the roots can take that as they need to.
So that would be the exclusive medium that you would use to grow the plants in. So instead of using soil, you use leca only, like you would use like rock wool only or some other kind of medium.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. We're going to take a slight detour, and I'm going to ask what your first experience with cannabis was like.
My first experience with cannabis.
Yeah.
That was fun. I have a condition called scoliosis. That's where your spine is curved,
Mm-hmm.
and being dosing with cannabis helped me to be able to move my body more. So there was a lot of stretching involved. I was able to not feel as much pain. It became a tool for me to use to help me go to sleep.
What's your preferred dosing method?
I like to smoke joints.
And is there a certain ratio of cannabinoids you like in your flower, a certain terpene profile that you prefer?
Definitely like myrcene for my back pain.
Mm-hmm.
And limonene. Limonene.
Potato?
Yes.
And you like that for its uplifting effects?
Mm-hmm. And the scent.
Okay.
Yes.
I always like zesting a lemon or a lime, and you can smell that limonene immediately in the air.
It's fresh.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go back to growing questions. Is mulch the same as compost?
Well, basically, compost, both of them have nutrients. Compost is what am I trying to say? Decomposed organic matter.
Okay.
And mulch, sometimes it can be made from bark, and mulch can also be like leca. So mulch is what is used on top. It can be used as like a decorative item,
Mm-hmm.
and it can also be used as a type of way that a plant can get nutrients.
And also to maybe trap moisture too in the soil?
Trap moisture and keep the roots warm.
So mulch on top, compost mixed in with the soil.
Correct. You can
Okay.
do that. Yes.
Okay. How can you keep, and I want to know this one too because I love these, how can you keep an annual hanging basket alive longer than normal?
I would say definitely add like a blooming fertilizer to it and keep it hydrated. So constant water.
Constant water where it drips out the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That's what I've been doing.
What kind of thing?
Oh my gosh, the name went right out my head. It trails down red flowers.
Trails down red flowers. Could it be like a transcendentia or
Transcendental meditation. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. Okay, how often should you change the soil in a potted plant?
You should change it during the different seasons. So for houseplant, you can do it every 6 months, or when the plant shows signs of deficiencies, that that will show that there's no more nutrients in the soil.
And those are coloration changes and a little bit of wilting.
Right.
Okay.
And then you want to like replenish it during the change of soil in the springtime so that the roots can expand and into the growing season.
Okay. Personal question, what does it mean when you get white spots on an aloe plant?
White spots on an aloe plant.
If I stumped you, don't worry about it, you can get back to me about it. But I've got a huge aloe plant that I was gifted. It's got two huge ones and then multiple small ones. The whole thing needs to be transplanted, but they've got white spots on them.
That might be, if it needs to be changed, it could be like a pest. Do you
God, I hope not. None of my other house plants are showing any signs of being attacked. I was wondering if it might be too much of something in the water, because I just use tap water. And without actually knowing what's in the tap water, I could be adding nutrients to the plant too much or too little.
Right, so tap water can contain chlorine. If you want to use tap water for your plants, I recommend like airing the tap water out like 24 hours to help the chlorine evaporate.
Okay.
Tap water can also contain like copper, iron, different nutrients that the plant can also won't be
Able to process it, it's too much of it for it to process, so. Okay, alright, so no tap water. Does it mean distilled?
Distilled is it's a pH balanced water that doesn't have any nutrients in it.
Okay.
So it's just a flat line.
Flat, okay. Alright, I read online that it's not okay to put decorative stones on the surface of a potted plant. Is that true?
So stones like this, if you're watering a lot, it could cause algae to form. You could I go back to leca because you can put that on top of your on your potted plant and it be protected from any fungus gnats or it can retain water as well.
Are they decorative though?
I think they're pretty decorative. Pellet clay to have, yeah.
Okay, alright. Last question. Coming at you out of left field, how can you grow microgreens indoors?
Growing microgreens indoors are fun. They're a challenge. I would start with, so you'll have a cutting tray, a base tray that's not going to have any holes in it, and then a thin tray with holes, and then you'll have a growing medium like coco coir that's nicely aerated for the roots to settle in, and you'll sprinkle on the seeds. And microgreens, they are prone to mold. So in my experience, having a dome on top of the tray to vent it and let the air let the air breathe inside that dome to help from mold forming.
And I'm presuming you have to get a special light like a T5 or some other kind of fluorescent.
So you can do a T5 light. If it's the summer season, you'll get, depending on the photo period of that specific microgreen, photo period meaning the amount of light that they need during the day, the sun can be a good type of way to get some for the
a good light source, so you could put the dome next to a window, provided it got really good sunlight.
Correct. or the T5 or like a T8.
Do you teach classes down at 314 about subjects like this so that people that want to get into gardening have a place to go and learn?
Yes. So over the summer we have a variety of classes that will be going on. We've got some members of the community who have stepped up and said we'd love to teach others their passion. In June I'll be teaching nutrients. In July we'll have a living soil class, as well as a hydroponic class, and then in August something with genetics.
Nice. And are these going to be cannabis specific, or are they going to be sort of general gardening?
Cannabis specific.
Okay. But there are things that you can learn that can be applied to general gardening.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the nutrients for sure. We'll walk through what the roots need, the beneficial bacteria and beneficial fungi, how they work to provide the nutrients to the plant, and what other specific things to feed the bacteria and the fungi to help them keep going as an energy source.
Okay.
So specific things like that, and then the different plant deficiencies.
Nice. If you folks want to learn about gardening, go down to 314 Gardening in Florissant. Chris, do we have any questions out there from anyone in either Instagram or Facebook?
No questions. I think everything sounded great.
Okay.
Questions were answered. You guys killed it.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up the show.
Appreciate
Mary, thank you so much for being on. I really, really, really appreciate it. Chris, who do we have on next week?
Is it Kristen? Who's number 9?
You see, I tossed to my producer because I can't remember myself. I should have had it written
My
down
phone
here,
is
but
being
I
used
forgot.
right
And
now
my phone is being used for
recording.
So let's just say, check out social media next week, and you will find out who we have coming up next on the fields. I apologize to who that is for not proper promotion, but hey, what are you going to do? This is live television.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's it, everybody. Mary, thank you so much. We'll see you all next Monday.
Sounds good.
Jack, did you just fart?
Sounds something loud.
I think he just farted.